Hello, hello, it's Caroline here. This week we are discussing something that's near and dear to my heart and really foundational and important on your path of spiritual awakening, embodiment, and also increasing your skills of sensing the subtle realms and how to navigate in this world with high sensory perception and precision. And that's really about how do you cross over into the liminal realms? Like, how do you set your space to go from the everyday task, the to do list, the beta brainwaves into that place of uh, make me a vessel? How can I be a hollow bone? How can I listen deeply to what is and what wants to be offered? How do I really sit at the spiritual fire of my being, of my soul, my heart? And listen and receive true guidance, receive true mystical experience, not just from a place of higher imagination, so to speak. So it's going to be different for you than it is for me. And I think that's a really important distinction because often, especially when we are on maybe new to our path or just starting out on this spiritual inquiry or discovery, we're going to learn all sorts of practices, which are really beautiful and important, especially ancient practices that have been working for thousands of years in that place of Kundalini awakening and self realization. However, what's really important is, does it land with you in blood and bone? Does it resonate with you? Is this something that you can really stand behind, so to speak? Because if not, that's when we can do a practice for a little bit and then we fall off the horse, so to speak. And then that place of trusting ourselves to show up for ourselves, to show up at the altar, whatever that looks like for us, can be affected. And, you know, it's so important to find what is going to really work for you and what is going to be your ally. And so that can be a prayer, that can be a song, it can be that before you go into those liminal spaces that you put on some songs and you dance and you let your body move with you, through you. There's a symbiotic relationship between the body, mind, heart, and spirit. And for others, it's going to be taking a walk out in nature, and any combination of these. And so the important part is, I want to encourage you to find something that works and then stick with it for a while. Let the devotion, let the discipline process you so you can really feel the fruits of what is it to show up every day. And if every day feels too much, what's the commitment? What is it for 7 days? What if I commit to show up for myself and this journey I'm on for 2 days a week, 3 days a week, and really stick to it? But the important part of this is, often we can be in the busy mind, or we're going through something emotionally triggering, and we go to sit, or we're going to go do our personal sadhana, personal practice, and it highlights, right? It's just going to shine light on what is, and what is agitation, what is contraction, and that is important to learn how to sit when it's so uncomfortable, when it's like fingernails on chalkboard, and how to train your nervous system to be present, even with that agitation. However, we can also give ourselves a little bit of grace and set the table, so to speak. It's like, how do you set your space? Like, so much of this is remembering that you yourself, your heart knows how to connect. You know how to remember that you are divine. You know how to receive the guidance that's beyond the ego self, beyond those places of survival brain, of suffering. And so when you take the time to get to know what works for you to cross the threshold, then you really have done such foundational work that the rest becomes easy. So, for example, is if you've been in an agitated state, or even not even a super agitation, but you're just in the busy mind, like you woke up, took the kids to school or not, or it's got the to do list, and you go, and it's like your time. You're gonna sit, you're gonna light your candle at your altar, and you sit down, and all of a sudden, it's like, oh, I'm just like watching my busy mind for 30 minutes, right? And a huge difference could be as you light your candle and you're like, you know what, I really resonate with movement embodiment. I'm going to put on, 2 songs, and I'm just going to let the music move me. I'm going to drop the mind and get into the body. Something simple like that. Another thing can be the invocation of your prayer. And that really is letting your subconscious mind, is letting your allies, it's letting your heart, it's letting your whole being know, okay, it's time to go within. And this is such a foundational piece that can be missed. And it's incredibly powerful. So, for example, I sit down and I light my candles, I do my thing to prep the space. And then I open up with an invocation. And it's more or less the same invocation I've been working with for many, many years. And it doesn't mean that I call in my helpers, my guides, the nature beings I work with. In the same order every time. It's organic, it's alive, it's a relationship. But I do cover my relations. I cover my basis every single time. And there are some words that I say the same every single time. So there's a cadence. Um, there is a way that my prayer, my opening signals really deep recesses in my brain that says, okay, it's time. It's time to, like, yes, there's the mind. Yes, there's the to-do list, but we're going to just give that wide space so we can shift into the liminal space. And so every time that you sit, it's truly a ceremony. And so, like every good ceremony, there's an arc of transformation, and there's a beginning, there's a middle, and there is an end or a completion piece. And so, it's really helpful to start to ask, how do I craft my sacred sadhana, my personal sadhana, my place of meeting myself, the divine, giving yourself a format, so to speak. And this arc of transformation is how we can also help ourselves um, not go unconscious. And when we can approach every time we sit, right? It's like, because when we go unconscious, that's when, like, the habit, the devotion that can be so alive and rich and juicy and transformative every single time, that's where it goes from when we're really present to unconscious. And that's when, it becomes something that's dead, that there's no juice there, that it's just a habit that's on repeat, that doesn't really produce that arc of transformation that every ceremony is. So, what signals your heart, your mind, your soul, your body? How do you move from this to that? So, again, like having a structure and really creating a structure that works for you. If like, what, I like to get my coffee and go out in nature. Maybe I leave my phone, don't listen to podcasts, or maybe I listen to something inspirational, really what works for you to help set the space. And then when you're ready to go inward, that you have a prayer, you have an invocation that feels true to your heart. And it can be so simple. It can be so simple of, just let me be more than my fears, distractions, and limitations. Let me listen. Let me open. It can be a lot more in depth. So whatever is unique to you that is actually going to work, because that's the most important thing, right? And so the invocation, the place of prayer, the place of letting all the beings that you're working with, yourself included, know that, like, we're coming to holy ground, we're coming to the sacred fire. And then the important part of listening, of allowing time to receive. So often we can do the prayers or the offerings and be in, like, the action, right? The giving part, and then it's so important to receive. So that can be where it's like, that's where it's the tricky, where the mind can, then, like, oh, there's silence. So here we go, and just let that be. And then come back to the breath, come back to that hollow bone. And when you hear like every, day could be, this transformation, you're like, oh, that doesn't sound like my practice. Some days are really just my busy mind. It's the witness of your busy mind. It's the inquiry of like, oh, what did I do differently? That the mind was extra busy today, and just start taking note, because personal practice and connecting to the divine and crossing that threshold to the point where you really trust what you feel, what you receive, what you experience is a skill. And like anything that we study, there is a study part to it. So for a long time, I would keep a notebook and say, start like, this is my intention for my meditation. And, go through the meditation. And then every time I was like, okay, what felt aligned? What felt like I was in the alchemical process? And what didn't? Did I? And when I say what didn't, just observing and writing down, just the act of writing down too, of like, okay, well, it like took forever just for me to like get present, or um, when I'm working with my centers, working with my chakras, I got to my third chakra, and all of a sudden I just kept noticing I was going unconscious. Like, that's information. So every practice, every meditation, every sadhana is information, and there is no such thing as a bad meditation, right? So it's always showing us, it's always, there's a signpost of what's going on in our energy body, what's going on in our energy field. And then we can get curious without judgment and then make those adjustments. Because crossing the threshold and establishing a powerful foundational practice and treating your everyday, maybe it's not every day, but the rhythm that you come up with of your time to go inward as deep ceremony, and creating that arc of transformation will be the difference between when you're in like a high stakes moment, and that could be um, in actually, in a ceremony, whether that's with plants or not, and you hit upon something big. It can be the moment of like, okay, well, I know I have my foundation. I know how to get to that place of stillness, and I trust in my allies. I trust in my protectors. I trust that I have this direct gnosis, this direct knowledge, this direct connection to something that is bigger than me, to the way of love. And also, high stakes is when you are in the world and you feel your nervous system starting to go into hyperdrive, or there is um, a resurgence of a trauma moment, right? Those are important moments that we can notice that we're about to go into habitual habit and reaction mode. Our nervous system is about to relive a habitual pattern that hasn't worked for us, or it did at one point, and it doesn't serve us anymore. We're going to evolve past that by integrating through it, right? We don't ever evolve past something by avoiding it. It's like um, the way to integrate is through it. So, this might seem simple. It might seem really kind of boring, and so important. It really is so foundational, and the trust that you will develop in your own self and your own connection. I mean, there's really like, what else are we doing? I mean, if you ask me, it's like, okay, like how, when we can stand in the fires, especially in the external world, whether fires are coming at us or we are just in relationship to fire, so to speak, when we can stand in the fires and hold our own and choose love, like choose the way of love, whether that's compassion for yourself, compassion for your fellow human that might be really struggling. That's a true evolved being. It's not so much about what, I was something on YouTube the other day of like 12th dimensional beings, like telling you who to vote for or something, and all this glamour around um, downloads and getting the things. And I mean, I speak of those things as well. So I'm like, kind of like, haha, to myself. And truly, truly, truly the most powerful, I feel like, signpost for someone who's truly in this place of self realization and awakened state is how well do they love, and how much can you hold compassion in a state of, yeah, when there's like when you're standing in the fire. So, my loves, we are going to go into a short experience that really just sets the space. Really, this week, I so encourage you to not skip over it. I know a lot of these videos and experiences together are about your own transformation and guided experience in your chakras, and I'll keep doing that. But this is truly an important piece, so you can feel sovereign and you can really open the gateways to the other world and to trust in your ability to do that. So some homework for this week is to take time to write out, if you're crafting a ceremony for someone else, if you're crafting a ceremony, if you are a ceremonialist and hold space for others, but maybe you need to revise, how do you open space? How do you open space for others? Do you do the same amount of prep work? Meaning, do you take the same amount of time you would if you're holding space for others as you do in your personal practice? And this is something I have to, remind myself to do often. um, how would you show up for a friend who is suffering? How would you show up for a friend who really is in curiosity and wanting to trust their connection with the divine and to be able to trust their intuition? So use that same amount of devotion and care that you would, that I know you would for if you were holding space for others. So homework is to do that, is to sit down, write out, what's your ceremony for yourself? What's something that is that arc of transformation that you can lean into? Maybe it's not every day, but multiple times a week, and stick with it for a while, and play around with it. You might think like, okay, I'm gonna like do some movement first. I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna call in the directions. It might get really elaborate, and then when you do it, it's like, oh, that didn't flow. That didn't feel right. And revise. It really truly is an art. Crossing the threshold into the liminal space is one of the high arts that has been passed down through eons and eons of time. So I would love to hear what works for you, what inspires you. I would love to hear how the doorways were so much more easily opened, and you were able to hear your own soul, your own higher self through these practices. So please leave a comment, or you can email me at info@carolinepadgett.com. And we're going to go into a short experience where I'll do a short guided connection between your heart, your crown, and your soul light. And then there's going to be silence. There's going to be a bit of silence with the music to start the inquiry process, start the place of study of what works for you. And then you can go back and revisit it throughout the week. All right, dears. So as always, you're going to get comfy and close your eyes. And focusing on the breath. Inviting in your presence. You're letting everything that I just said just fall into the background. Feeling the weight of your body on the chair or on the couch. Allowing gravity to do its job as you inhale, summoning yourself to yourself, and exhaling, arriving even more deeply into this present moment. letting your focus and your presence deepen as you inhale and exhale. Turning your attention inwards. And relax. Allowing yourself to become less matter and more energy. Going from ordinary state of consciousness to non-ordinary state of consciousness. From separation to moments of oneness. Feeling the space around your body. Feeling the sacred earth beneath you, the cosmos above you. Begin bringing your awareness to your sacred heart right in the center of your chest. Remaining here at this holy of holies within your body and your energy system. Letting your breath rise and fall from the center. And relax. Moving your awareness to the top of your head, to your crown center. Just saying hello to the centers, the petals unfurl. Inviting in a golden essence, a gold frequency right into your crown. And from your crown, your soul light a foot above your head. Special center that acts as an intermediary between our body, chakras, and our higher centers in the place of spirit. Again, if it feels available, bringing in that gold essence right into your soul light, the Ba, your 8th chakra. And linking the heart, the crown, and the soul light. These orbs of consciousness, of light. asking to be more than your limitations, fears, or distractions. Asking to be a hollow bone for your higher self, for all that is good and true. And allow. Asking your intuition, your soul, your heart, what would be helpful? What's the first step crafting the invocation, the ceremony that would help benefit you the most at this time in your place of awakening, embodiment, and evolution? And just taking some time to listen and receive. How do you cross the threshold into the unknown, into trust? Into receiving. Taking these last few moments to come to completion, knowing that this inquiry, this question, is going to be part of your soul study. Feeling into your heart, crown, your soul light, and the connection between these centers and the space around you. Connection to the divine. And saying hello to your whole body, focusing on the weight of your body and the earth beneath you. Being aware of the in-breath and the out-breath. You slowly return to the world of the senses and the world of 3D. Wiggling your toes, toes, your fingers, maybe giving your neck a stretch. And coming back into space, this place, letting a little bit of light into your eyes, looking around the room. And welcome back. So, I invite you to return to that short guided experience if you need help to cross the threshold and be able to listen more deeply. I encourage you to write down what you received. And again, I'd love to hear what came up for you. What's the aha moment? And the importance of how to make contact with these signposts, so to speak, the calling card of moving from a place of contraction to a place of expansion, moving a place of separation back into that remembrance of oneness, from judgment to compassion, and to keep working with these invocations as a tool, as an ally on your path of spiritual growth and awakening. So, my loves, I will see you in the next video, and I appreciate you being here. If you find this helpful, I'd love for you to share with your friends and your loved ones, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.